Hello guys, today we're looking at Portal. This whole story around Portal is just, I know, really interesting, and how a lot of people played it, because back in the day, yeah, okay, there was Portal on the Steam page, but I feel like a way that a lot of people actually experienced this game for the first time was through the Orange Box. And so the Orange Box was this game that you could buy from Valve, and it had a series of like 5 different games in it and their biggest hits. So it included Half-Life, Half-Life DLC 1, Half-Life DLC 2, which is technically, I mean, you could say that's, one game, but it's really 3 games in one, as they say on the back of the box. A local multiplayer version, or a console version of Team Fortress 2, which was their other big game at the time, which had all of the character intros in it, and definitely got people interested and addicted to TF2 for PC, because there's no real reason to play on console, because, there's like very few people playing at any time. And you just really couldn't play it on console, and it was more of a PC game anyway. And then finding this little game called Portal. So a lot of people heard, oh yeah, Half-Life 2 is like the greatest game ever made or whatever. Let's, play it on, console, on 360 to see what it's about. And, oh right, there's this little game called Portal that they made as like a passion project. Well, let's take a look at that. It was apparently made by their interns or something, or some of their earlier staff. And so Portal is, I don't know, it's just a very simple, wonderful game where it is very only based on puzzle solving, really, and there is no combat focus whatsoever. So that's a very big departure from the Half-Life series, and it basically focuses specifically on the aspect, again, of puzzle solving, and the whole area and vibe of the game, again, is based around this portal gun, which allows you to solve puzzles by going into certain areas, and you're going to have to put certain things into certain places. And what's really funny is the whole meta narrative is that you're in a facility called Black Mesa, which is adjacent and an Easter egg to the Aperture science labs from Half-Life 1. And so you are, as you find out soon, you are hundreds of feet underground in this facility made for training, and you have this creepy, or kind of comically sadistic AI voice called GLaDOS, who is guiding you through all these tests. And it's saying things like, okay, well, we'll do this test and hopefully you don't die, or something like that. And so it's this very tongue-in-cheek, and honestly, this piece of like video game comedy where it's just very like I don't know, it's very interesting how it's very rare to have a very good game with a great mechanic in it, and there's also a comedic like twist to it that is just very, very super rare. And again, this started off as like a little side project, almost like an indie game is really the vibe of it, because it really doesn't care about the grandiose aspirations of Half-Life 2. It's definitely not living up to that standard. It's just doing its own thing, and it has its own identity, and it's very, very charming. And a lot of people fell in love with Portal because of that. And just silly things too, the fact that you have things like the companion cube, the cake. The cake is a lie. This is of course from this game. And it's all based around this whole thing where, GLaDOS is like, oh, don't worry, there will be cake after all these life-threatening experiments. So again, it's very tongue-in-cheek the entire time. And of course, they find out eventually through, the course of the game that, no, there is no cake. The cake is a lie. And that's kind of the whole, kind of gist of this game. It's a very, silly, comical, kind of whimsical thing. Again, this kind of like puzzle solving mechanic has never really been done before, and they just made it really, really well. And so you have to decide between things where, your portals can go there and they can't. And the basic mechanic, is that, the portal gun is able to make 2 different, portals, obviously, and where you come out at different sections will determine your speed, velocity, position, and everything. And it's just a really great puzzle game that has very funny writing, and a lot of people just latched onto it. And it became very much like a phenomenon. It was like in 2007 when gaming was going popular and mainstream. This was the game that a lot of people reference as like one of their first introductions to gaming, simply because it was fun, it was simple, it was slightly challenging, but also very comical and a lot of character with GLaDOS. And even though Chell's a totally silent character, she kind of has her own kind of personality and reactions to this whole scenario. And so you essentially end up, defeating GLaDOS, putting her identity cores into these furnaces and defeating her. And she even has a really cool design as well. And that kind of paved the way for Portal 2, which honestly I think is an extremely even a funnier game than this one. Honestly, they really leaned into the dialogue, and but yeah, that's a review for another time. But yeah, I love Portal. It's very quirky, very silly, but a very smart and well-made game. I don't know, it's just very simple and very fun. It's very hard to meet someone who says they hate Portal or dislike Portal. It's really hard to dislike this game. It's definitely not the best game in the world, but it definitely is a fun, interesting experience. And the amount of memes and cringe, frankly, that this game produced is really quite impressive for a very short, puzzle-based game. It really is amazing. What they were able to come up with in such a small scope. And again, GLaDOS as a character is just super, super iconic and super fun and witty and sadistic and again, just super, super entertaining to watch her disdain for humans. And of course, this is also the game that ends with, This Is a Triumph, which has become kind of a gamer anthem at this point. I think pretty much everyone knows that tune or that song, and with good reason, which is basically that it's from this game, and it encapsulates that entire kind of motif and feeling of the game of persevering despite all of the weird kind of system shock-ish enemies and ailments coming at you. And even if the world is rigged and the cake is a lie and love and happiness are beyond your ability to obtain, that doesn't mean you should just give up. You should just keep trying and outsmart the system, I guess, is maybe the message of this game. But yeah, it's just really, really well made. And there's nothing else to say about it. Anyway, with that being said, guys, I will see you all later. Bye.